Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Retro Gamers Podcast, episode 391. Anthony here.
Rich is back. Been a while.
And Rich is back. Welcome back, Rich.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
As you can tell, Larry is not with us today for a couple of reasons.
We had to put him down.
Well, yes, we had to do that. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
No, Larry is not here this week because he has other things going on. And on top of that, Rich is here in person, so we're actually in the same room together. So we're not dealing with two squares on Zoom.
No, which I'll take that. Yeah,
which is great. So how are you, sir?
Good. I just came here. I didn't come here to spend time with you. I came here to play with your collection.
Oh yeah, well that's what everybody comes here for.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about my games.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to touch my wares.
Otherwise, good, man. Good. I know it's a little bit more modern gaming, but I picked up something recently, which, I question its existence for somebody other than me.
That's an interesting question. Interesting statement. Because Larry, my cohort, and our friend, he buys a lot of things that nobody else buys.
Virtual Boy.
Oh, yes. Did you buy a Virtual Boy?
No.
Oh, then you're okay.
Oh, dear God, no.
Then you're okay. You're safe.
Yeah, no. I bought the PlayStation Portal.
Oh, okay. Yes, and I obviously knew that because we've talked about it.
Yep.
But as somebody who had no interest in buying the PlayStation Portal which is odd because I do travel a lot for work, but because I have a Switch and I have a Steam Deck, I don't really see much of a need for the PlayStation Portal.
I wouldn't see one for you either.
Yeah, okay. So, but I'm curious to hear your experience with it.
So, yeah, once again, it only works in the house because it's got to be attached to Wi-Fi. So, like, if you tried to take it out and remote play out, no, can't work.
Wait, but what if you hooked it up on Wi-Fi when you're out?
It's got to be on the same Wi-Fi.
It's got to be on the same... Okay, so this is kind of like the Wii U.
Pretty much.
Where it had, you had the handheld.
Yeah, but at least with the Wii U, like, other people could still play with, their Wii remotes and still be, like, partaking in it.
Right.
It's just straight up, like, it's a remote play, like, as if I'm literally sitting here and what I'm doing here is happening there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That, see, just off of that, that's not appealing to me at all because, obviously, I mean... It's a lot easier for me because to play my PlayStation because I live alone right now.
Right.
So there's no reason for me to have a Portal.
I think the only people that I could see it really being good for is, like I started to say, somebody like me. I've got a young child at home, so and of course he likes to nap on the couch in the living room where my PlayStation is.
Of course.
So, if like the number of times it's like, ooh, he's napping, awesome, I can't play. Unless there was a couple of points I started to just unplug my PlayStation and PS5 and just bring it into my bedroom.
That's work.
And it's work. And then, I had a buddy of mine on his PS4, his HDMI cable, his port rather, broke because he kept on taking it out, taking PS4 somewhere, taking it back. And, it's for PS5, that's a pretty expensive venture. So I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to keep on doing that. But no, for somebody like me where, you've got something like that, it's great because, all right, cool. You keep it in rest mode and then you just pick the thing up. It takes a few moments and boom, pops up, doesn't turn the TV on or anything like that. My son gets to sleep. I get my time to sit down and play, which is great. And then he wakes up and I turn the thing off and I go back to being dad.
Nice. Okay. Well, then you definitely, there's a specific benefit to it.
Right.
For you.
And I could also see, like, for example, when my wife, let's say we game online certain nights. And if my wife, there's been many nights where my wife and I have had arguments as to who gets the big TV and who's got to watch something on the iPad or what have you. And so, again, this makes it great because now she can sit on the TV and I can sit there playing on the Portal and I get to play it that way. But again, it's for $200 to play just for somebody like that. I don't understand it. Again, I love it because it works really well for me.
Yeah.
But I can't see it working for other people.
Okay. So then, yeah, because like it's weird to me that like if you're able to access the Wi-Fi with it, why you can't just go anywhere,
right,
and just access your PS5 via Wi-Fi, because like they also have
the backbone.
No, well, no, I was gonna say, how you can play, or is that I'm thinking Xbox, when you can play on your PC.
Yeah.
But you can do that with PlayStation also. Because I used to do it with PS4. Like if you're traveling, like I used to have my PS4 on my laptop, so I could...
Russ does that too, doesn't he?
Yeah, Russell does that.
Yeah.
So because you can play your PlayStation 4 on your PC if you want to. So with something like this, I would just think, like, why not just give people the ability to hook up to a Wi-Fi and then just access your PS5 from home. So that's what makes it strange to me, because it's like it's literally tethering you to your home to play it. And if you've already got a PS5, with the exception of obviously what you're saying, outside of that, I don't see much of a need for it.
No.
Now, here's an interesting question with it, and I'm curious, because I honestly, I didn't do a deep dive into the PlayStation Portal at all before we had this conversation. But can you have two people in your home playing two different games on the PS5 if one person's on the PS5 and one person's on the Portal?
Nope. Because it is remote playing. So what I'm doing is, if I'm playing here,
it's actually running on the PS5.
I can have the TV on and I'm watching
what you're playing on the Portal.
The TV. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a Wii U.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's literally a Wii U.
Yep.
All right.
And I will tell you, performance-wise, it's, when it works, it's awesome.
Okay.
When it doesn't work, it's infuriating.
Okay. And is that just from the Wi-Fi connection?
It is. And the downside was, and I didn't know this when I first got it, I actually thought it was the Portal was having issues. It was my Wi-Fi was having issues. And I had to actually upgrade my entire my router and my modem and a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, no, I wound up having to like go in and fix all of those. And ever since I fixed that, I don't run into any problems. But there would be times where it's like I was in the middle of playing and then all of a sudden the signal just dropped. And then next thing I know, it's like not connected to your PS5. And the only way to reconnect it was to actually go into my living room, go restart the PS5, and then I can reconnect it again. And I was like, this is infuriating.
Well, that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. And then the other one was, the other issue I have with it is the range of it, I feel, is very, very small. So I live on a single floor, and if you're in the living room playing, no problems. If you're in the basement, which is, right directly underneath there, no problems. If I go to the front where my bedroom is and I try to play in my bedroom, it starts glitching out all over the place. And it's like, it kind of reminds me of like when, the internet would start to drop a signal while you were watching like a show or something like that.
Everything gets all like pixelated and buffering.
Exactly.
Well, you're not selling me on it. Hate to tell you.
I know.
It's very, very. It has a very, very specific window.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
For specific people for a specific need.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I said, I mean, for me, it works great because of what I'm able to do with it.
Right.
I could, like Larry, there's no reason for Larry outside of maybe just because he wants to have everything PlayStation.
Right.
Because he's weird like that.
He's weird like that with Nintendo.
Not so much Sony.
No. No. Nintendo's always been his jam. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, interesting take on the Portal. You're actually the first person I know who has one. Your description of it has definitely convinced me that I don't need one. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think you need one.
All right, that's good to know.
No, and the other thing I picked up roughly around the same time, and I wanted it because of the fact of, again, having a young child in the house, being able to find time to game is damn near impossible.
I'm sure it is.
You find it wherever you can. And
while you're changing diapers.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, it's like you just kind of slap the diaper down, and it's like, Daddy's got to finish this one level. Hold on.
All right, that makes sense.
And you go from there. But no, I picked up Tomb Raider, the remastered.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What did you pick it up for?
PS5.
PS5.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm playing it on I debated about, do I want it on the PS5 or the Switch, and I'm kind of wishing I would have picked it up for the Switch for a couple of reasons. One, I wouldn't have had to buy a Portal. That's the first reason.
And you could have taken it out of your home.
Exactly. Yep. So when I'm up here and I'm sitting and my son is napping and, in the Airbnb, I could easily be sitting there playing Tomb Raider, which I can't do right now.
Aww.
And I will say the other reason why I got it for the PS5 was the trophies.
Yeah.
I'm still a trophy whore. As much as I sit there and I try to not be, I'm always like, I need to get those trophies.
I gave up on the trophies a long time ago, unless if I randomly look and see I only need 2 or 3 more, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, but other than that, I don't really pay attention to the trophies.
And I wish I could get that out of my brain, but unfortunately, I'm like, it's too much a part of me now.
Okay, that's fair.
And with the Switch, you didn't have that.
No.
But the other thing is, and this is the part that, if I would have, because I unfortunately I pre-ordered Tomb Raider beforehand,
mm-hmm.
and one of the other things, and I didn't realize this, is there's the cheat code where you do the code, you have Lara do her little dance,
right,
and then jump and then flip at the same time, and all these other things, and you get all the weapons with all the ammo. And if you do that, it nullifies all of the trophies.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah. So I was like, no.
Oh, that's a problem. Yeah, see, when Remastered came out, I was having the same issue in terms of what system to get it for, because to me, Tomb Raider is synonymous with Sony. Right? So it just makes sense. I should get it for the PS5.
You know what it's synonymous for me?
What?
The Saturn.
Oh, yeah, the Saturn Tomb Raider.
Because I bought the Saturn, and the first time I played Tomb Raider
was on the Saturn.
Awesome.
Well, but you can't buy it for a Sega system now, the Remastered.
No.
So, but obviously I wanted to get it for PS5 because PlayStation is Tomb Raider for me. However, again, with the Switch, I can take it with me, and it's a perfect game that I can see myself playing when I'm traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So, needless to say, I haven't bought it yet. I was like, but I'm probably going to wind up getting it for the Switch for that reason.
I would recommend it.
Yeah. So, sorry, Sony. I love my Tomb Raiders, but we're just going to have to part ways on this because your Portal can't leave the house.
And it's not like you need it for the graphics.
Nope.
So you're playing a game that's over 25 years old.
Yes, very true.
Pushing 30.
So, 95, 96, 96, I think.
96, 97, 98 from 1, 2, and 3.
Yep, almost 30. Scary.
But I gotta tell you, the game, going into the gameplay of it,
mm-hmm.
I was really excited for the modern controls, and they are terrible.
Really?
Yep.
Worse than the originals?
Yes.
Wow, that's...
And here's the... because
the original ones were really rough.
They were rough. They were very rough.
In fact, Larry, when we were doing Tomb Raider for Game of the Week, like he said, he had to put it down because of the controls.
Really?
He could not figure it out because you always had to turn her before you move her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
tank controls.
Yeah, she was never. Yeah, she was just never easy to move.
So with the modern controls, the issue with it is this: to do all of the jumps, you have to always tap back, so this way she jumps back to get the running start.
Yep.
You can't do that with the modern controls.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. That's a huge problem.
So the fix for it is you hold the action button, run off the cliff, so this way you hold on to it and you pull yourself up and then you can run and jump.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, that's too much work.
Yeah.
So
but the original way I used to do it is I used to walk to the edge and then jump back and do it. Yep. So it's just like another version of that.
I guess so. Yeah, pretty much.
Kind of.
But I would say I've actually switched back to the tank controls, and I've just been playing it old
with the
school.
OG control.
And I will tell you, it is fun, by the way, just hitting the I'm sorry, I'm calling it the start button. You can call it the options button as much as you want. It's a start button. Mm-hmm. So I kept hitting the start button, and it's it's like the old Halo remasters where you can go back to what it used to look like and what it looks like now. And I call my wife over all the time. I'm like, we got to see this. Look at how much change they made. And they made a lot of graphical changes. Okay. And I got to tell you, it's really freaking cool. No.
I've seen video of it. It's amazing. It's amazing how much they added to it.
Yeah. So there was that element of it's cool. And again, kind of going to the Portal though, I gotta tell you, outside of people who played this when in the 90s, I don't know who this is for.
People who played it in the people who played it in the 90s, and people who are Tomb Raider fans today who want to play some of the old ones that they never got to play.
Right.
Because I mean, they still make Tomb Raider games. They've been making them for 30 years. So, any current gen Tomb Raider fan may want to go back to them.
But like, I don't see the current, like, if you got started on the current gen, it was relaunched, I think 2013. If you're going back to that, like, I couldn't see them all of a sudden going picking this up and playing it. I see them doing having the same problem Larry had, which is, all of a sudden he goes and it's like, no, I can't deal with these controls. Boom, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Because the modern controls are trash. And part of the other problem too is the game. I remember watching a making of the Tomb Raider game, the Tomb Raider series, and they were talking about how because of the limitation of the PlayStation 1's hardware, with what they were trying to build, was they had to build everything on a grid system, and everything is all on the squares, and I guess part of the problem is the tank controls are built with that grid system in mind. Okay. And the modern controls don't, and that's one of the huge problems. And I will tell you, it's very easy to toggle back and forth between modern to the tank controls, modern and tank. Yeah. And at the beginning, I was doing that, and I just kept on finding myself just constantly going back to the tank.
Yeah, but you have to think, people who never played the original ones don't know those controls. So if they picked up the modern controls that they made for this one, they'd probably just roll with that.
That's true. True.
Yeah, it's just we have the memory of playing with the original controls, so we know how it works. So trying the new one, when we have the old one in our head, is probably going to make it, clash.
Right.
So
yeah,
just another way to explain we're old.
Yeah. So. And I will tell you, I beat 2 already.
Okay.
That was way harder than I remember it being.
I never got through 2.
Really?
Nope.
Yeah, no.
I never played 3 because I never got through 2.
Fair enough. I'm still yet to do 3, but I remember 3 being very, very hard, and that's why I was like, So I did 2, and I wanted to do 2 because I've done 1 a number of times, either through anniversary or even going back through a number of times through the years and playing it. So I was like, let me start with 2. I did 2, and then nostalgia for 1 just hit, and I was like, you know what? Nah, I got to do this. And I'm all the way up to. Do you remember Natla's Mines?
Yeah.
That's where I'm up to.
Yeah, because I just beat it a couple of months ago, actually, for Game of the Week. I plowed through it, and it was so much fun. And again, I played the OG PS1, original controls, all that stuff.
And what'd you think?
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Still love it.
Yeah.
Still love that game. I was actually surprised I got through it. I thought I would get stuck, but I actually managed my way through it again, which was good.
See, yeah, and again, having a young child at home, and with time being as limiting as it is,
you were looking stuff up.
I got to a point now where I pull up YouTube on my phone and I'm like, all right, walk through, boom, okay, done. Got it, boom, and then I just go and I do it. I'm like, at this point, I just want to run through the game.
Yeah, that's fair. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I wish I had the time to sit down and play, but having the little guys is a hell of a lot better than sitting down and playing Tomb Raider.
That's true.
Yeah,
he's your real life video game.
He is.
Yeah. So cool. All right, cool. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying Tomb Raider Remastered. It is definitely on my list. I will be picking that up.
Switch.
On the Switch, probably, yes. But let's get to the topic at hand for today. How about we switch gears?
Let's do it.
So, full disclosure, a few days ago, you sent over a meme.
I did.
You sent over a meme.
It caused a little bit of a controversy.
And it caused a controversy in our group chat about which console had the best exclusive games. And it was specific to a generation. So we were talking 8th generation. It was PS3, Xbox 360, and Wii.
Yes.
So which ones had the best exclusive games? And the meme was actually saying that they all had crap.
They were all trash.
So we thought this would be a good topic to talk about, but being the Retro Gamers podcast,
let's go back a step.
Yeah, I felt like it was maybe a little too current, even though Larry and I have indoctrinated those into retro games, because
at this point, we're past them.
The consoles are well over 15 years old.
I know.
All 3 of them are. So, but I thought it would be more fun if we step back a little bit more to when there were 4 solid dueling consoles in one generation. So we jump back, and we're going to be talking about the best, which console in this generation had the best exclusive games. And we're going to be talking about the PlayStation 2, Microsoft Xbox, Nintendo GameCube, and the Sega Dreamcast.
Wait, wasn't the Dreamcast earlier though?
Nope.
It's considered this generation.
No. The Dreamcast was the first console of this generation. Because the Saturn paired up with PlayStation 1 and N64.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. Dreamcast came out first, $99.99, remember?
Yeah.
And then GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation 2 all followed, and they were the reason why, one of the reasons why Dreamcast got destroyed. So we're going to be touching on all four of these, and then again, just offering our opinions for us.
Right.
Which one we thought was the best for exclusive games based on our own gameplay. Mm-hmm. And then we'll generally bring up games neither of us played, but we're kind of heavy hitters on each console. And we won't touch on all of these. Like, we both wrote a really long list of stuff. But since Dreamcast came out first, maybe we'll start there.
Yeah.
So,
what was your game?
Like, if I had to pick one.
Exclusive. What was your game that you loved?
Ooh, that's a good question. If I'm looking at my list, if I had to pick one game out of all of them, it was a very odd game. It was not a very, I don't want to say it wasn't a very common game because I bought it in the store. It was available, but it's not a game everybody played. But it was a survival horror game called Illbleed.
I don't know that one.
Which was a really cool. It was a really cool game. Every board was like a different horror movie. So it was in a different location, and there was a different killer. And the way that it worked was you didn't have any weapons, and it was based on surviving the level without basically having a heart attack and dying. So it was a scare thing. So it was all about your scare level, and then when you get confronted with the killer at the end, the battle between you and the killer is something in the environment. You have to figure out something in the environment that would help you kill the person. You would not just kill them outright. So again, right up my alley, huge horror fan, love survival horror. Picked this game up, played through it. Now granted, full disclosure, if I remember correctly, there were only 5 levels, so it wasn't a very long game.
Right. But even back then, they really weren't. They were 4 or 5 hours.
Well, no, I mean, like, I think I finished it under 2.
Oh, wow.
Like,
okay.
It was a short game. It was a very short game. But I loved the idea of it. I loved the concept of it. I loved the level of scares that they did in it. They were just really, like, overall, I thought very well done. These days, you can pick up a copy of the game for a few $100.
Oh, jeez. Retro. Everything retro.
Well, not only that, it just wasn't a very common game. Not a lot of people bought it. So there aren't as many out in the wild.
Right.
That's the one I always go back to. Again, we're talking specifically exclusive.
Right.
So when we looked at lists online, there were a number of games that I have on the Dreamcast that I absolutely love, but they're not exclusive, so they don't fall into the list.
What was the one that you were shocked was not on the list?
Sonic Adventure.
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure was not exclusive to the Dreamcast because after the Dreamcast was discontinued, Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 came out on the GameCube.
Which is the same generation.
So it doesn't count. Otherwise, I would say Sonic Adventure because that game is amazing.
Right.
Illbleed is definitely the one. Actually, of all the exclusives I found, was at the top of the list.
You know what mine was?
Which one?
It was so. It's funny because when I bought it, I didn't know it was based off of an anime.
Okay.
And it was Sword of the Berserk. And I remember going to
Never played that.
King's Plaza, and I think it was a Software Etc. at the time. Wow, I just once again dated us. And I remember
you really want to date us, say Babbage's.
Oh, so I remember this walking in, picking up the CD case, and this dude had like this sword that was just like massive, and I was like, wow, what the hell is this? And like all things in America, when we get the anime versions of things, we pick it up in the middle, and it just kind of leaves us like in the middle. And I remember playing it and just being like, wow, this is really, really cool. And couple of years, fast forward a couple of years, and I started dating my wife, and she was like, yeah, have you ever seen this anime called Berserk? And I'm like, Berserk, why does that sound familiar? She's like,
it's a guy with a 2600 game.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, yeah, it's this guy with a big sword, and he just swings it, and he's very angry. And I was like, wait a second. And I was like, And, I pulled the disc out, and she's like, yeah, that one. And I was like, oh no, there's more? And yeah, and next thing I know, I watched it, and I was like, oh, this is...
Was it at least a good show?
The show, oh my God. So for those of us that know Berserk, know that by the time you get to the end of it, it's brutal.
Just bloodbath?
It is just bloodbath.
Nice. As it should be.
But it's one of those things where it's like it gets you to love these characters and then just destroys every single one of them.
See, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
And so the game actually takes place after the end of the anime.
Okay.
So
continuing story?
Exactly. And the problem being was, like I said, I picked that up and I was like, what the hell's going on?
You have no idea. Yeah.
This game's fun. I'm enjoying it, but why am I running around with this giant sword slaying all these demons? And then all of a sudden it's like, and why is this girl like lost her mind? And it's like all these things. It just wasn't making any sense. And then I watched the anime and I was like, oh, this makes perfect sense now.
Okay.
But yeah, that game was fun and I loved it, and became more fun after I understood it.
All right, awesome.
So what else is on the list?
For Dreamcast, it's sad because there really wasn't a whole lot for Dreamcast. One of the reasons why the Dreamcast was an abject failure was because it did not have exclusives. It didn't have enough exclusives. So I would say Sonic was probably their biggest exclusive until they went under.
Yep. Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi.
Actually, only 2 though. Again, 2 was the only one.
Yeah, and Crazy Taxi I never owned.
Really?
No, I was never really into Crazy Taxi because anything that kind of resembled a racing game, I usually stayed away from. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really big on racing games.
So at the time, my buddy John and I, we were just turning 21 around that time, and he would come over, we'd get a couple of drinks, we'd sit down, we'd drink, we'd play Crazy Taxi, and it's just that much more fun when you're a little bit more intoxicated.
Yeah, and they don't arrest you for DUI in the game.
Exactly.
So it's perfect. The other game on my list that popped out for Dreamcast, and obviously, it's a rhythm-based game, and it's a really, really weird one.
Oh no!
But Space Channel 5.
That's I
had so much fun playing Space Channel 5, and again, another game where it's not. Yeah, exactly. Not a terribly long game, and just a strange game, but really fun. I never bought the second one. And I think the second one kind of came out right when the Dreamcast went under. But I have to say, the first one was really fun, and it was different. It was wacky, and I was also coming off of the whole
Parappa
the Rapper, Buster Groove on PlayStation 1, that type of stuff. So I was kind of digging the music type games. So I just grabbed Space Channel 5 because I liked it. I liked the idea of it. Also, fun and random. Lo and behold, Michael Jackson's in the game, which is funny. Yeah, you save him from the aliens, and then he joins you on a level.
Really?
Yeah, because as you save people from the aliens, they become your backup dancers.
Huh.
So as you're walking along, they're just behind you, going along with you. So eventually,
Michael Jackson.
You save Michael Jackson, and he joins you as well. And it's just, again, weird, quirky, completely different, and and that's kind of part of the fun I find in some exclusive games is that they're weird, they're different. That's cool about it. So, Space Channel 5 for sure.
Just some other ones, I guess, kind of just kind of touching upon Street Fighter 3. I was a huge Street Fighter fan, so I remember playing 3 a lot.
Was that wait, Street Fighter 3 only on the Dreamcast?
Yeah,
that's weird.
At the time. I mean, eventually later on, it came out in other collections, but at the time, it was just Dreamcast.
Okay.
Shenmue. I remember so many people telling me I needed to play it. I bought it. I hated it, and then I think I played it for like an hour, and I just never went back to it.
Wow, that is a hugely popular series. Absolutely huge.
Yep.
I'll throw a couple at you too. Power Stone was another one that I never owned it, but I heard great things about it.
I remember seeing the box on the shelves.
Same with me. And it was one of those ones where it's like, ooh, I'm going to grab this, and I never did.
Was there a playable character in Marvel Capcom 2?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think there was one.
Like Laser Sword or something? You had a
laser sword? Yeah, that sounds familiar. So Power Stone I threw on there. WWF Royal Rumble I threw on there. I'll have all the wrestling games on there.
Yeah.
But what was cool about that one is because it was an arcade game. It was released. It was an arcade game at the time, and it only came out on the Dreamcast after the arcade. So the only way you can play it was to have the Dreamcast, and it was a stupid fun game. It didn't have a lot of characters in it, and you would play the Royal Rumble mode. The characters would repeat over and over again, but it was just fun.
But that was the fun thing about this generation was you would get those arcade games at home now.
Yes.
So it was like, oh man, I get like one of the ones that I have down here, the Daytonas. I
Yep.
mean, yes, Daytona was available on the Saturn, but Daytona 2001, which had like a bunch of little things into it. I remember sitting down playing Daytona like for hours on the Dreamcast, and I loved that. And I think about how much money I spent on Daytona in the arcades.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Cool. The 2K games for sports, they got their start on Dreamcast, right?
My buddy and I still to this day, we still play, even though I know it's PS2 and Xbox, but we still play the
2K5?
ESPN 2K5.
Everybody still plays 2K5. I still have 2K5. And I was not a big. I'm not a huge football fan. Everyone, like, for some odd reason, like every once in a while I'll pay attention to a season, but it doesn't happen very much. But I'm a huge hockey fan.
Yep. But those 2K games, like 2K1, NFL 2K and 2K1, and then the NHL.
The NHL one I played like crazy. I think NHL 2K may have been one of the very few NHL games I played an entire season of 82 games.
Oh wow!
So yeah,
that's dedication.
That was dedication, but I really enjoyed it.
Yep.
Anything else you want to bring up on Dreamcast, because we have 3 other consoles?
I know. No, let's just go on to it.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like they're really, when you break it down, there really weren't a lot of exclusives.
No.
So
I'm gonna say let's go to the next small one.
All right. The next small one, oddly enough, was the Xbox.
Yeah.
I expected that one to be larger.
You and me both.
Much larger.
There's the obvious ones.
They're the obvious ones, of
Halo.
course. Halo, right. Halo was their big one.
Halo 1, Halo 2.
Yep, which I never played.
Really?
No, never played Halo.
Wow. No. I will tell you, Halo to me...
First person, right?
First person.
That's why I didn't play it.
And to me, I remember one of my buddies wanted to borrow, again, an anime series I was into at the time. And I was so used to always lending my anime series out and not getting them back. He's like, look, dude, I will lend you my Xbox. Wow. And I was like, okay. I was like, sure, I'll take your Xbox and sit down and play. And I remember sitting down and playing Halo single player. And I think I managed to get all the way through like the 3rd level. And I was like, this is just boring. I'm bored. And I remember I turned it off. And it wasn't until a couple of years later, I remember going back to it, sitting down with it, with playing with friends. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's how Halo worked. I didn't really have anybody in my circle that played Halo, to my recollection. So, but on top of that, I just have an issue with first-person games. They would always give me headaches, so I just kind of steered clear of them as much as I could.
You and Jack.
Yeah, so Halo never worked for me. Oddly enough, though, I have a PSVR now. So, but it seems to play differently. But other than that, yeah, but that's why I avoided that one. For me, the first one on the Xbox that popped up, and it popped up in my head before I even looked at anything, like any lists online or anything like that, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer game on the Xbox was so much fun. As a huge fan of the TV show, what I loved about this game was that it was like a season of the show in video game form. It was a completely new narrative, start to finish.
Joss? Did he have anything to do with it?
I don't remember if Joss had anything to do with it. But and they also got a lot of the original cast to come back to voice their characters. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was one of those rare games where they actually did that. I mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar did not.
Too big.
Yeah, but I think everybody else, or almost everybody else, came back to voice their characters. So I was totally
impressive.
Yeah, it was very impressive, and the game honestly overall was really fun. It was a lot of fun. The sequel was not exclusive. It came out on a couple of systems.
Right.
But that game itself, I just remember playing through it, loving every minute of it, and I was like, this is just like watching a season of Buffy. So huge fan of that one. That was the first one off the top of my list.
Okay.
What else did you get on the Xbox?
Again, at the time, Jack and I were hanging out already by this point, and we used to love. It was it was meant to be, I guess, the Mario Party kind of version for the Xbox. It was Fusion Frenzy.
Okay.
And oh my God, it was so much stupid fun.
What kind of theme did Fusion Frenzy have? Was there a specific theme to it? Like, because Mario Party is Mario.
Techno, jet set radio, like cyberpunkish, I guess.
That's what I would think for the name Fusion Frenzy.
Yeah. There was like one of the ones was there was a spinning tower and you had to jump and duck over like the bars that come around. That was one of my favorite ones. You remember American Gladiators?
Of course.
So they had
the video games.
Oh God, of course you do. You remember when they would be in the giant steel balls and they would have to run around?
Atmosphere.
They had modified versions of that.
Nice.
They even had one where it was like on a circular platform, and every couple of seconds, a next ring would fall down and keep falling down until there was like 2 people left on this tiny little platform like this, and you had to just kind of knock the one person off.
Oh, nice.
And it was just, there was a lot of really fun ones on there.
A lot of fun mini games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dreamcast had their own version of it too. It was called Sonic Shuffle.
Never played it.
I remember. Yeah, that was their mini game. That was their Mario Party, basically. Never heard of Fusion Frenzy, but having you describe it makes me interested in it. I kind of want to go get it.
Jack will easily sit down and play that.
Okay.
Like, he and I have talked about it so many times.
I mean, I have an Xbox sitting here, so perfect to play. And I don't know, like maybe one of those that's backwards compatible too.
I actually think I downloaded it for my 360.
Oh, nice.
So it might be on my 360.
Cool. I love my 360. That was my favorite Xbox. Okay, the other. What's odd about this, like the list I came up with on Xbox for games that I have personally played are 2. That's it. The rest of the exclusives that I have on my list are more like general franchises that I know are popular that were exclusive. All my games on my Xbox were not exclusive. So the only other one that I have on there that was WWE Raw. Again, another wrestling game. But the Raw series, there were 2 Raw games. There was Raw and Raw 2. I don't know if Raw 2 was exclusive. I don't think it was.
You're asking the wrong person.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it came out on like GameCube or something else. But the first Raw game on Xbox was really awesome. They put a lot of work into it. It was completely different from the SmackDown series, which was going on the PlayStation 2, and it was super popular.
I did play those.
A lot of people did. But the Raw game had a great roster. They had a cool story mode. Had fun cutscenes, and at that time, I don't remember the cutscenes being all that great in other games.
Right.
So it was really cool to see that. Like, not obviously, the N64 is still king to me for wrestling games, but Raw was a lot of fun on the Xbox.
So the other big one that was for me, the Fable series.
Yes,
loved the Fable series.
It's a game I've always wanted to play, and I own it. I did buy it. I've just never sat down to play it.
You need to play it.
Yeah,
it is so good. Yeah. It's so much fun. Hours and hours of fun.
Good.
Getting to basically go and buy up all the houses, raise the rent beyond belief, and have everybody pissed at you.
Oh, cool. I would just want to kick him out in the street, though.
Yeah, you can do that.
Oh, you can do that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I would evict everybody. Although that is kind of close to real life these days.
Yeah, you buy the house and you're like, that's it. This is my house. Get out.
Cool. I like that. But Fable itself, just the story itself, was great.
Yeah, the story was a lot of fun. The gameplay was fun. Both Fable and Fable 2. I mean, like, honestly, that was worth it for the price of admission alone. So I would very strongly recommend that.
All right, cool. Yeah. Good to know. Just some of the other ones to rattle off. And again, these are exclusive franchises that I thought were really solid for Xbox. We're talking about Jet Set Radio Future was on the Xbox. The Dead or Alive games. Dead or Alive 3, Dead or Alive Ultimate, and then I think there was like a beach volleyball one.
There was.
Yep. I think that was still Xbox and not 360. Project Gotham Racing was a big series there.
Yeah.
Again, not for me because of racing. And then the Tom Clancy games, Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, those were exclusive to Xbox at the time. So some really heavy hitters there. I left one off because I know it's on your list, and I'm pretty sure you've played it. I never played it, but Xbox became one of those things of like, ooh, I need to get that game, and I never did. And now we're 20 years later, and I still haven't played it.
And now they're more expensive.
Yes.
Now, the ones that I had on here is Ninja Gaiden.
Yep.
I remember trying it. It was way too hard for me. I didn't. I had
All
a hard
Ninja
time.
Gaiden games are hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. No, that's a whole nother story. But the NES one, I actually got all the way to the end and then lost to the boss, and that sent me all the way back to the start of the 6th level. I was like, nope, done. Never touched it again.
Wow.
Crazy Taxi 3, going back again.
Of course.
But I will tell you, I did not enjoy that one as much as 2.
Okay.
Doom 3. Doom 3, the third one, I remember playing, sitting down. I'm a huge Aliens fan. And I remember sitting down with that, and the lighting in that game just made me feel like I was playing an Alien game. And I was like really impressed with that. And then the last one on my list was Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2.
Of course.
Those were, I mean, the precursor to Mass Effect.
Yeah, well, and didn't they just release like a remaster of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or a remake.
The remake is coming, supposedly.
The other remake is coming. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, and everybody talks nothing positive about Knights of the Old Republic. So
yeah,
that's really cool. All right, cool. So why don't we move on? Oh, should we flip a coin on these two? Because
no, I'm gonna say because I don't know. I've got a clear-cut winner in my brain.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say let's go with the runner-up.
All right. So who's the runner-up for you?
For me, the runner-up, and for the sheer volume, it wins.
Yes.
But in terms of games, I actually would put the run. I would actually say it's a runner-up is the PS2.
Okay, PS2. All right. I might agree with you on that one. So we'll get to that at the end after we're done. So PS2, again, first game that comes to mind to you with PS2. Again, we're talking exclusive.
Right.
But what's the first one that hits you where you're like, I played this on PS2. It was like the best experience.
It was I'm going to go with the best experience. I don't know about that, but the fact is...
Well, on your PS2.
Right. I remember buying a PS2 for this game.
There you go.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, the Metal Gear Solid game on PS1 is just like classic. Like everybody still talks about that one.
Yeah.
So naturally, I can see somebody buying a system specifically for the sequel.
And 2 and then 3 was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, at this point, we're getting Delta, in a couple of months to a year or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the time, what Hideo was always able to do with the hardware was like, are you kidding me?
How many discs was it?
Just one.
It's just the one disc.
Just the
right?
one. Just the one.
Well, I don't think when we got to this this generation, I think everything was just one at that point.
Yeah.
One
so
which one
was for you?
Off the top of my head, I gotta go with Kingdom Hearts.
Ooh.
Kingdom Hearts to me was, I think, by far my favorite exclusive game on the PS2.
Okay.
Again,
at the time it was exclusive.
And again, no, it was exclusive to this generation.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah. So, and again, big Disney fan. Growing up and everything, still kept my Disney love at that point. But just having just the idea of like kind of fusing Disney with Final Fantasy gameplay sounded really interesting. And then on top of that, they kind of did what Final Fantasy didn't do, because Final Fantasy was turn-based play, right? Kingdom Hearts was just, what's the word I'm looking
action
for?
RPG.
Yeah, just action RPG. And this game was the first one that introduced me to that, to action RPG. I don't know I can't think off the top of my head what other ones, but every other RPG I played before this were all turn-based. So playing an action RPG to me kind of just opened my mind to a whole new world and genre of games.
Fable
is an action RPG. See?
Yep.
Had I played Fable first, then I'd be giving Fable the credit, but I give Kingdom Hearts credit there. And Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and I think Chain of Memories were all exclusive to this console generation on PS2. Right. Absolutely phenomenal game. Kingdom Hearts I played start to finish, loved every single minute of it. Everything about it was unique. The story was unique. The worlds were unique. It was just cool twisting the Disney characters into a story like this.
How frustrated did you get trying to beat Sephiroth?
Oh, yeah.
We don't talk about that.
I don't even know how many times I had to play against him, but he was definitely it was a rough go.
Yep.
All right. What's next on your list for PS2?
Oh, Guitar Hero. The amount of hours I've spent playing that game was Oh, I still remember going to in New York.
Well, and you play guitar.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I remember playing, going to, it was like some consumer art show, like a C2E2. No, not C2E2 is more an electronic show. I forget the name of it.
CES.
Yeah, maybe something
Consumer
like that.
electronics show?
Yeah. And I remember going to it, and I remember playing
E3.
the demo to Guitar Hero, and I was like, "What is this?" And I remember as soon as it came out, I was like, "I needed this," and I never looked back. Bought all of them, and then eventually, down the line, Rock Band and all that.
Yep. Rock Band was amazing. Guitar Hero, I remember. I fell in love with Guitar Hero, and then Guitar Hero 2 came out, which was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
But Rocks the 80s, which was exclusive to PlayStation 2, that one I played nonstop. That was by far my most used Guitar Hero game, for sure. Because, again, love 80s music.
Right.
Playing 80s rock is perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yep.
All right. Next one on my list. It's you know what? I gotta go with this. It was a series too that was exclusive to PlayStation. And again, gonna go wrestling. Big wrestling fan. The SmackDown series.
Okay.
The SmackDown series on PS2 and originally PS1 were the de facto games for this generation.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a ton of them because it was SmackDown, and then they gave them all subtitles like, Here Comes the Pain, Know Your Role. No, I'm sorry, Shut Your Mouth. Right? It was one of the Rock ones. But then they turned into SmackDown versus Raw, SmackDown versus Raw 2007, 2008, 2000, so on and so forth. All PS2, super fun games. Definitely kept me going as a wrestling fan and a wrestling and a wrestling video game player.
Right.
So I got to bring those up for sure.
I guess you want to go through our little quick list now?
Yeah, because there are there's
many.
There's a long list. Like, which ones hit your list?
We don't
have to name. We don't have to name them all.
No. Obviously, the God of Wars. I loved the God
Never
of Wars.
played them.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those series that I just kind of missed. I don't know what happened. I just missed it.
It was a fun game. I loved 1 and 2 and eventually 3 on the PS3, but those were just really fun, good stories. So Bloody Roar. I was a huge fan of Bloody Roar series, and you had 4 came out on that. And then I guess the last one I'll kind of finish off with is Shadow of the Colossus.
Yes.
I remember me and one of my buddies, we would basically, either I would go by him or he would come by me. Because remember, there was this thing called a memory card.
Yes.
And you would just take the memory card out and you would go over to your buddy's house, pop it in, and then boom, that was that.
Yep.
So we would just take turns beating a Colossus.
Nice.
So it's like I would beat one, and then as soon as I beat it, I would hand it off to him. He'd beat the next one.
Nice.
And that's how we did it.
I did not get into Shadow of the Colossus until they remade it on the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And when I played it on the PS4, I was like, "Wow, did I miss out on this game 20 years ago?" Unbelievable. I loved every second of it. Yeah.
By the way, I know more modern, but have you ever played The Last Guardian, rather?
No.
Similar? Same team, same company, and you would appreciate it because you've got this weird dragon thingy, and one of the big complaints people had was well, the thing never listens to you when you give it directions.
One of those.
And I'm like, clearly you've never owned a pet before. Yeah. Because it's
pets don't listen.
Yeah, you're like, go over there, and it just kind of sits there staring at you.
What do you want? Yeah, that sounds like my cats.
Exactly.
Just a few other ones to throw off. Clock Tower 3 was a game that I absolutely loved. I love the Clock Tower series on PS1. Mm-hmm. When Clock Tower 3 came out, it was really cool because it became a third-person game instead of a story-driven game, which was really cool. 24 the game, because I was obsessed with 24 at the time, so playing as Jack Bauer was super fun. Mm-hmm. And then have to bring up Final Fantasy. X2, 11, and 12 were all PlayStation 2 only.
Yep.
And
wasn't
then
12 the first where they started to incorporate action RPG?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. And then before Guitar Hero, there were 2 music games on PS2 I had, which were Fantavision and Amplitude.
I don't know if I've played either.
Yeah, and those were the ones now they make games like this now, where the tracks are coming at you and you have to press the buttons on your controller, and it would activate each instrument separately,
mm-hmm.
and then if you got them all, you would hear the song go all together. So those 2 games I had,
mm-hmm.
and then I'm sorry, not Fantavision. Fantavision was the firework one. I think.
Yes.
Amplitude was the music one, but
Gotcha.
there was another one before it. I don't remember.
Rez?
No, I can't remember. But the last thing I want to bring up is Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry. That was another game that just like kind of blew my mind when I played it. It was just so cool, so different.
It was like Castlevania meets I don't even know.
It was Castlevania on steroids.
Yeah,
that's basically what it was.
Yeah.
And again, I think that might have been the first game that introduced me to. Well, no, it was Final Fantasy VII, but just in the action format of like tiny guy with big sword.
Yep.
That we just destroy things. That's all I got for PS2. I guess
I'm just gonna hold. There was a couple that I guess honorable mention.
Yeah, throw them out.
The Jack and Dexter series is Wild Arms, which I was a huge fan of. The Wild Arms
I remember
series.
Wild Arms. Yep.
That was, I remember going buying the first one for $10. Twisted Metal Black.
Oh yeah.
Gran Turismo.
Huge series. Mm-hmm. Huge series.
Mega Man X7 and 8.
Yeah.
There was Dark Cloud, which was like that Link wannabe one. Yeah. So there's some pretty cool ones on there.
All right, cool. Shall we get to the last one?
The last one, and in my opinion, is the winner.
I give it the edge too, actually, since we're talking about it now. Again, Nintendo GameCube. For all of and oddly enough, I feel like the GameCube has gotten more respect over time.
When it came out,
I feel like everybody thought it was inferior to PS2 and Xbox.
Yep.
But looking back on it,
myself included.
Yeah, no.
I was one of those people.
No, I felt the same way. I was always like, wow, I have so many more PlayStation, Xbox games than I do GameCube games. Mm-hmm. But then when you sit down and really look at the list of games that you had, and again, exclusive games, right?
Yep.
It could be the overall list, because PS2, I think has more games than any other console.
It was
period.
Period. Yeah.
Just more games in general.
Well, it was out for how long were they making games for it?
I don't know, about 11, 12 years.
Yeah.
But GameCube to me also for exclusive, to me it wins hands down too. And we can sit here and talk ad nauseum about all of these, but
oh god,
I feel like most of them on the list are just the obvious ones.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what do you got?
So I'm gonna go. Obviously we've talked about me on the show so many times. Metroid, the Metroid Prime 1, 2, and that once again that was one of the reasons why I bought it. Was I remember they had the thing where you can get the GameCube and you could pick one of the 4 games, which one you wanted, and of course I picked.
You picked Metroid
Prime. And Metroid Prime 2 was the only game, the final boss, not Dark Samus, but the Metroid Prime thing.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever broken a controller in frustration.
Wow.
That's the only one.
Oh, I did that many times.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I think N64... no, wait, did I break my controllers? No, they were very durable.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, Prime. It was funny for me when I bought my GameCube, I honestly don't remember. No, I do remember what I wound up buying because there was no Mario game in the beginning. And I did not buy Luigi's Mansion.
Really?
No. If I remember correctly, the first game that I had on the GameCube, or the first one that I remember on the GameCube was Wave Race Blue Storm.
Oh, God, I remember that.
Because I believe that came out at launch. Again, we're talking exclusive. I think other games I wound up picking up maybe were not exclusive at the time. But I remember Wave Race Blue Storm, and I loved that. But obviously, you can't sit here and talk about the GameCube without talking about the Mario game that was on it, which is Super Mario Sunshine.
I've never played.
I played it. I didn't play it on the GameCube, but I picked it up on 3D All-Stars.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing through it. It's actually a surprisingly fun game. And I've
only heard good things.
Yeah, and I did not expect it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, oh, you're running around cleaning up. I should never underestimate a Mario game. Nobody should. Because they always, every time they come out, they always seem to be good.
Right.
So I was pleasantly surprised with Mario Sunshine.
My favorite Mario Kart's on it, Double Dash.
Double Dash. Probably one of the only Mario Karts left I haven't played.
Really?
Yeah. I never owned Double Dash at the time. I just recently picked it up at, I think it was at a convention. I picked it up at a convention a few months ago. I've yet to put it in my GameCube. I have it sitting here.
Good one. Oh,
I just played Mario Kart Wii for the first time.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't own a Wii.
Oh, wow. That was another good one.
Yeah, I only bought a Wii like 4 years ago, maybe 5. But Double Dash, everybody tells me is awesome.
Oh god! And playing a 2-player,
Yep.
where you guys like if there's certain levels, like let's say I'm better at than you.
Yep.
You know, it's like we switch.
You take turns.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for me, the racing game on the GameCube was F-Zero GX.
That again, I was not. I've got a buddy of mine who like he gets crazed about all the
F-Zeros.
Yeah, he loves the F-Zeros.
Oh, I loved F-Zero. F-Zero X on N64 was great, but GX was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And that was my racing game.
Never got into it.
I can understand.
Yeah. The Star Wars, the Rogue Squads.
Oh, Rogue Squadron
2 and 3. Oh my god, love those.
Yeah.
Those were great.
I was never a big Star Wars fan. So I never
See, I was.
Yeah, so I didn't get into the Star Wars games that often. Mm-hmm. But Rogue Squadron, actually that's not true. I had Rogue Squadron
On the N64?
No, on the GameCube.
Really?
I think it was 2. Mm-hmm. You know why? Because I fell in love with Star Fox on N64, and I saw Rogue Squadron played like that, so I picked it up.
Gotcha.
And I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You had the Mario parties.
The Mario parties are just no-brainers.
And to me, Mario Party really started to hit its stride once it hit the GameCube.
Oh, man, I don't know about that, because like Mario, to me, I always look back at Mario Party 2 as my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, love Mario Party 2.
I think 4 was my favorite.
All right, fair. Yeah. But you know what it is too? The Mario Party games on N64 came at a time when my friends were still coming over and we were all still playing.
Right.
By the time we got to the GameCube, I actually didn't buy the Mario Party games because it was just me by myself, and I'm like, why am I going to buy these?
Right.
The whole point of the party games is to have people over.
Right.
And that just wasn't happening at the time.
Yep.
So it was tougher. Got to talk about Smash Brothers Melee. Super Smash Brothers Melee, it's still a game that's relevant today.
Yeah.
It is the de facto Smash Brothers game that they do tournaments with.
I have tried endlessly to get into the Smash Brothers.
The only Smash Brothers game I've gotten into is Ultimate on the Switch.
I've tried.
I
Can't
love
do it.
Did you try the story mode? Story mode I love.
No, I haven't tried story mode.
Try the story mode because that's what made me fall in love with the game.
Okay.
Playing it as a group against other people, I'm not as into it. I was like, but the story mode,
okay,
I was all in.
Okay.
So try it.
Will do.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Super Monkey Ball.
Never played.
Oh my god! I story mode didn't care for, but the amount of hours that I had spent playing Monkey Golf, Monkey Bowling, like all the little party games. Oh my god! That's one of those games. If I had $1 for every time I played it, forget it. They were paying me money.
Yeah, that's awesome. Luigi's Mansion. Mm-hmm. Another game. Never owned it when I first had a GameCube. I own it now, and when I started playing it, loved it. That's my story with my GameCube is actually kind of the story I feel like the GameCube got a bad rap then, because I think everybody was running to the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox.
Well, the PS2 was like the juggernaut. It had the phenomenal graphics.
But I was doing the same thing, and because I was doing that, and again, limited funds, you had to pick your battles.
Right.
So while I was doing that, I missed out on all of these GameCube games that now I'm going back and buying and playing. Now I realize, I'm like, wow, this console was actually a heavier hitter than I thought it was.
Yeah, no, it really was.
So
you had the Zelda games, you had the Wind Waker.
Oh my god, Wind Waker, Four Swords Adventure, Twilight Princess. Boom, boom, boom. You can't go wrong with a Zelda game. I've yet to play a bad Zelda game. Hands down.
You had, for me,
I was gonna say Animal Crossing is another one that started there.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Resident Evil remake.
Awesome.
I loved the Resident Evil remake. Jack and I, right before COVID hit, he had never played Resident Evil before.
Okay.
And I had him sit down and had him run through it. And even he was like, wow, it's
an awesome game.
This is really good.
Yeah, they did a really good job with that. Paper Mario.
Yep.
Another RPG.
Yep. Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness is another game. Never played. Always wanted to. Now I own it. Need to sit down and play it.
Yep.
What else is on there?
There's
Pokemon Coliseum I have on there. Obviously, Fire Emblem.
Yep.
Has become a very popular series in the U.S., even though the old Fire Emblem games weren't really released here.
No. Beautiful Joe. I know I never played
Beautiful Joe.
But I know everybody who played it said they loved it.
Yeah, Star Fox Adventures is another one that came out.
Yep. You know what was one that, like, ironically, it's such a Japanese game, but dear God, again, the amount of hours my buddies and I played it was Beach Bikers Volleyball. It was like one of those, like, oh my God, it was like this stupid volleyball simulator game. I don't even like volleyball. I don't like playing it.
Yeah.
But yet, here it was, like, you got 4 of us sitting around, and we would all just sit down playing it, and we just had a blast playing that game.
You know what? But that's what it always comes down to. It's like the memories of it, which is awesome. I think that's all I had on my list. It was a long enough list. I had WWF games on there too because they had their own exclusives. Day of Reckoning, and then I think WrestleMania 21 was only theirs. But again, just fun wrestling games.
Geist. I never played it, but I knew people loved it.
I remember that one.
Twin Snakes going with the Metal Gear. I didn't want to talk too much about that because I talked about Metal Gear 2. And that's really kind of... But again, there was like so many more on here that even like, once again, we could have even kept talking.
Yeah, it was like going through the list. It just made us realize how many there were. Okay, so we've gone through all of the exclusives. We remember popular franchises and everything like that. Obviously, we just talked about GameCube being number 1. But if you rank the rest of them, where do they all fall? And now we're talking specifically exclusives. We're not talking about their overall library.
No.
That would be a completely different thing.
Yeah.
For exclusives, 1 to 4, what do you got?
Going GameCube first. PS2. I can't believe I'm about to say this. I'm going Dreamcast and then Xbox.
Oh, wow. Okay. I actually am going the same way. Especially because like I realized it after we wrote it all down, like of the Xbox exclusives, I only played 2.
Yeah.
I played more Dreamcast exclusives than Xbox.
I mean, Halo is great, but again, single player, meh. Knights of the Old Republic was wonderful, and so was Fable, but I don't know, like, I mean, there's something about the Dreamcast.
There's
actually,
always been something about the Dreamcast.
But see, it was an arcade. Because one of the ones that wasn't on any of the lists, but I remember at the time the only way you could play this was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Was a Dreamcast only for it when it first came out.
Well, when it first came out.
Oh, and it also came out to PS2.
And then it went out on PS2.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing, because Dreamcast came first. When it first came out, there were a number of games that were exclusive. But then Sony came out with PS2 and started getting the rights for games that were on the Dreamcast.
Yep.
And that's why it's not on there. It's same thing with Sonic Adventure.
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure was exclusive to the Dreamcast until they went under, and then it went to the GameCube.
Another one that I didn't mention for Dreamcast was Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I mean, that
was N64, but it was the only one on this generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down and playing that to death. Like, oh my God, I enjoyed that. Like, I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I'm surprised that we both came to the same conclusion in terms of how to order these things.
Yeah.
I really thought going into this conversation, PlayStation 2 would be first.
Now, what order did you buy them in?
Ooh, good question. Well, Dreamcast I bought first. I bought Dreamcast on $99.99.
I didn't, but I bought it soon after.
I bought Dreamcast day of. Then I bought... I'm trying to remember the order in which they were released. But if I'm remembering correctly, Dreamcast was first, GameCube was second, PS2 was third, Xbox was last.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's definitely how I did it.
So I did Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, GameCube, and then Xbox was last.
Well, I feel like Xbox came out last.
Yeah.
Like that, and that was the reason why.
2001? I think it was.
I think so. But so really interesting how this shook out. It actually shook out in a way I wasn't expecting, which is cool. And I like it when stuff like that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So like overall, really good topic for discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you for sending that meme and the argument that ensued between us.
That was kind of fun.
It was fun with everybody, bringing it up. Larry was very defensive.
Yes.
Of the GameCube.
Yes.
And rightfully so after we went through this list.
Yeah.
He had, look, Larry, see, we're pointing out that you're right.
For once.
For a week when you're not here.
Yep.
So anyway, we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
We're going to wrap this one up. Rich, thank you for the great topic.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah.
And for everybody out there, we'd love to hear your thoughts on which console of this generation you thought had the best exclusive games. You've heard our opinions, but we would love to hear yours. And if you want to reach out, you know where to find us, and I'm going to list it. So you can find us on Facebook.com/retrogamerspodcast, on Instagram at retrogamerspodcast, on Twitter at retrogamerspod. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube at Retrogamers Podcast. You can also watch us on Spotify at Retrogamers Podcast. They do video now. Or you can email us at email@theretrogamers.com. And next week, Larry will be back. Unfortunately, Richie will not be here. Sorry to see you go. But you'll be back again. You always are. And for everybody else out there, we will catch you next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.